So today I started out thinking, okay, if I'm going to get this butterfly dress done in time for the fair, I better get started on the basic outer skirt. So I quickly made a waistband, and it's rough and it is untidy and it is, yeah, it's not great, but it doesn't matter because this band just needs to be comfortable. It's going to fit under my corset. You're not going to see it. It is basically just my anchor point for adding everything else. So it was a quick job. It was nothing fancy. It didn't need to be. And it's just going to anchor everything else that I'm going to add over the top of it. Then I quickly figured out how much more or less fabric I would need to make my underskirt. And again, it doesn't have to be exact, it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be neat, because you're not going to see this. This is the layer that I'm going to build on top of. So it was just a quick measurement with the hand and seams on the side, just to make it neat, a little bit neat. And I draped it to just check that it was going to be enough and that it was going to look right. And then I moved on to the next stage. Now, in order to get a little bit of volume into the eventual product, I am going to have to gather the top of the underskirt and ruche it in to make it give that illusion of having a bit of volume. So that's the first step, is just sewing a straight line so that I can then ruche it in with the cotton thread. And then it's actually quite tricky to get the ruching to be exactly the right spacing to fit the waistband. So you have to lay the waistband out, and then you have to lay the ruched section on top and pin the one side. Once you've got the one side in place and pinned, you can then move the ruching along to where you think more or less it should go, and then you have to go to the other end of the skirt and you have to ruche from that side and move that along. Then you pin on the other side. Okay, here I'm still busy pinning the right hand side, but then you pin on the left hand side, and then you have a large section in the middle that is not ruched in, and then you can do the middle bit. You ruche and ruche and ruche and ruche, and you move it along and move it along, move it along, and you space it out perfectly. And then once you've got it all spaced out right, then you can pin. And that's the only way to get it to be evenly spaced out, so that the ruching looks the same all along the edge. It's just a matter of sewing, again, straight line all the way through to along the entire edge, and then of course removing pins and checking. It's so important at every single stage to check that everything is fitting. because if you do everything and then you only check the fit afterwards and you're even half an inch out, you're going to be very, very sorry, because nothing's going to fit and all that hard work will have been for nothing. So I checked it on my body, because my doll is not set to the correct size. I never bother with that. I check everything on my body, and then I just pinned it to the doll just to make it to get it out of the way. And then I cut a bunch of these strips of tulle and just sewed a straight line down the middle on every single one of them. Cut a piece to fit into the inside of the skirt that I have just made. I am going to attach bunches and bunches of strips of the tulle to this piece of fabric, and then I'm going to attach it on the inside of the skirt that I just made. I did it this way because I wasn't sure if I was going to like the effect, and I didn't want to sew all of those strips onto the skirt, do all of that work, and then decide I hate it, and then I have to take it all off again. By attaching all of the tulle strips to this piece of fabric, I can attach it to the inside of my skirt, and if I like it, I can leave it there or sew it in. And if I hate it, I can just take that whole panel out. So here's again more ruching. I hate ruching. It is one of the least favorite jobs, but unfortunately it's something I cannot avoid, especially when you're making dresses for fantasy fairs, because so often your dress needs volume, and so often there are frills and gathers all over the show, and yeah, it's something you just cannot avoid. So here I'm just using all those strips of tulle that I made and attaching them onto this panel, and then you can see I've attached it here to the inside of the basic skirt that I made, the underskirt that I made, and I ended up liking the effect. So I think I'm going to keep it. I haven't attached it yet. I've just got it pinned at the moment because I might want to add even more. I'm going to first do the panels of the petals on the outside and see how much that weighs the skirt down. And then if I feel like it's too weighted down, then I'm going to add more strips of tulle. So yeah, like, subscribe, follow the journey, and you'll be able to see the finished product.